Let's bring in Chen Hong. He is the director of the Australian Studies Center at East China Normal University. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
First, I want to get your reaction to this diplomatic development and what sparked this positive turn in relations.
Yeah, Foreign Minister Wang Yi's visit to Australia is against the background of the improving relations between the two countries. Because as we know that during the past several years, the bilateral relations between China and Australia suffered a historical low. With the previous Turnbull and Morrison governments, adopting an extremely anti-China policy, with the Labour Party under Albanese taking power in Canberra, Australia started to break up with the previous government's anti-China megaphone diplomacy. That had been positively responded by China, and both sides went on to push forward the improvement process with the two summits between President Xi Jinping and Albanese in 2022 and 2023. The bilateral relationship is now generally stabilizing, improving with the prospect of further development. So that is the context in which Mr. Wang Yi takes this trip. As we can see, he met with the Prime Minister and held talks with Penny Wang, the Foreign Minister, and a wide group of people from the political, business, education, academic, and other circles. One thing important is that both countries are making preparations for a visit to to Canberra by China's Premier Li Qiang. So indeed, there's a lot to look forward to.
What would you think will be the key takeaways and outcomes from Wang Yi's visit to New Zealand and Australia? He's wrapping up his trip with one last day there in Sydney. What will you be looking for?
Yeah, well, since China and Australia established a diplomatic relationship in 1972, the two countries have been, working proactively with each other with enormous benefits to both sides. For example, in 1972, when the diplomatic relationship was established, the trade volume, bilateral trade volume, was a mere $100 million. But last year's two-way trade was as much as $230 billion. So China is Australia's biggest trade partner. China has been benefiting from the exports, or import of Australia's energy and mineral products, the agricultural, husbandry, dairy, fishery produce, while this trade relationship has brought enormous profits to Australia. So I think the trade relationship is very important. I think Mr. Wang Yi's visit to Australia and also, of course, also to New Zealand has been to strengthening this trade relationship, which is enormously important, especially against the background of the economic slowdown globally. So I think actually there are many areas we can proactively working together, in particular, in trade relations.
Yeah, we heard about the Australian wine making a comeback. Tell us about the meeting that Wang Yi had with Australian business leaders. Looked to seem very positive, and there was also the issue of tariffs.
Yes, trade disputes, occur whenever and wherever there's international, cross-country trade. China imposed the anti-dumping and anti-subsidy tariffs with its investigation after receiving complaints from the wine industry in China and also from third-party, third country wine dealers. Wine trade between China and Australia used to be big, very big. It was worth almost $1 billion in 2019, but today it is estimated to be worth less than $10 million. Australia's wine industry virtually collapsed because of the tariffs. There were stories about Australia seeking alternative markets in Malaysia, in India, and the UK and the US, but all that proved to be incomparable to the huge size of the Chinese market. China has started a new investigation, giving out questionnaires, making surveys, and findings of the new situation apparently indicates that things have changed. So China has announced recently to start an interim lift of the tariffs, and a final decision is likely to be announced soon. So I think there's this is really very good news to the vineyard owners, winemakers, and wine dealers in Australia, and also to Chinese consumers who like Australian wines. I do, So other aspects, other areas of the trade issues, such as lobsters, Australian lobsters, rock lobsters, and also the beef industry. There are other areas, but actually, as long as both sides are ready to talk, to discuss, not to politicize the issues like the previous Australian governments, Morrison governments did, I think actually things will be resolved, and also trade relationship will be further strengthened.
Yeah, food and wine, definitely a win-win for all. Chen Hong, thank you so much for joining us from Shanghai. We appreciate it.